Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So you may have seen, the Bard Songblade had a lot of improvements, buffs throughout the multiple weeks that have increased its effectiveness drastically, especially its reliability. So I want to cover how you should play it then, with multi-target damage, beating up groups of enemies, and single target damage, your bosses. I'll put timestamps on the play bar below. You can skip to any section you're most interested in. We'll have setups for both types of content. So first of all, we jump to multi-target, and this is a power setup I would recommend. Your main at-will will be your con elemental at-will, depending on what song you cast. There are two variants I suggest for multi-target, and that is to either have your Tailwind Mambo active, and then you have this little whirlwind you can cast, Con Motto, and it's a nice bit of a radius attack that it can hit enemies in that line. Alternatively, you can go ahead and cast your Steel March, and you can have this wide cone attack right here with this sword in front of you. It's pretty decent, far-reaching, 25 feet, so it can be very good when enemies are spread out a bit in front of you, rather than what Tailwind Mammo could only do with the line. For the encounter powers, Duet, Contre, and Volt Stubito. However, you can switch to Lunge instead of, say, Contre if you're in a more mobile fight where you don't want to be sitting around much and enemies just die so quickly. But Contre will net you more overall damage, at least if you're close to the enemies and can actually get that hit off. It just takes a little bit more of a cast time, and Lunge can be a great gap closer just to get to the enemies first and start dealing the damage right away, and that can be better in like a dungeon where you're competing against allies and the enemies are pretty squishy. But when they're more tanky, Contra is just really good also with its knockdown effect so that the enemies can't attack you back. For the daily powers, well, generally it's just inspiration for the 25% damage increase. You can play around with using Encore to cast your song again, but it's not really necessary at all, to be honest. For the mechanics here, you got your shift, you can roll out of danger. It's not as far as, let's say, the shift on the rogue, but very similar. And then you've got your tab, which is your performance mode. Now you can use keybinds to play songs as if they were quick play, and basically have then more quick play slots essentially, but you do still gain the benefits as if you played it manually, like I'm doing there, which, yes, it's accepted by the developers that that's a way you can play it. It only works on PC though, by using the keybind functions you see here, those commands. I'll go over those in separate section at the end of the video, how you can set them up for yourself. But otherwise you can play them manually, you can pin them here, and while you're in perform you can see what notes you need to press, like 246 7246, and that casts your song. You can just get the muscle memory of those songs and play them really well if you play Bard a lot. Otherwise you do have quick play slots, and I would highly recommend having Ballad of the Witch in that quick play slot. This allows you to play it near instantly, but keep in mind you can only cast it while in combat. Hopefully this does get changed. There has been things said that they will probably do that with the ballads, make it so you can actually cast them outside of combat. That'll be very beneficial for multi-target. You'll just cast Ballad of the Witch as you're going to the next ad group, and then you'll have that active for that, getting the extra damage. You do have some other songs like your Blaze Flamenco, don't generally recommend. Also, if you're running a Bard healer, they'll have this one active, and also the Con Elemental at will that you get from that is the same as the default one, and it's a pretty small area, so it's not really that useful. So just stick with Tailwind Mambo, Steel March, have either one of those always active, and then you can go and have also a ballad active at the same time. Now for the class features, Mystifying Strikes is still very good in multi-target content, and then Masterful Performance. Those are the two best. There's not really much better than those. For the feats, first set doesn't really matter here. You can play around with either backup performer can be nice for a bit of a heal instantly rather than a heal over time effect that's going to replace like these other songs. But voice throw can help your tank with some threat, but in multi-target that shouldn't matter so much. Second pair of feats, definitely recommend Melody. It's just overall better. Ado is overall better when you're by yourself or just in a dungeon. In a trial, I would recommend the Ballad one to give everybody the 5%. And then fourth set of feats, you definitely want Redoublement, and last set of feats, you want Performer. They made this really good now. You're not reducing the effectiveness of your encounters when you get improvised versions. They will still do the full same amount of damage. So now we have what to use out the way. How do you want to then use it when in a fight? So here I'll just show you some multi-target fights in the 5-man skirmish Castle's Retreat. Again, before we go in combat, make sure we have our song active, Tailwind or Steel March. Then we go in here, we can dodge, go use Duet, Vaults Stabito, then we can jump castle, Vaults Stabito if you want. You can use a Contra as they're close to us, dodge those attacks, and we managed to kill them before the red areas. Now what you can do, especially if there's some more tanky enemies, as soon as you've entered the fight, go and use Ballad of the Witch, and then we should get some extra damage on all of our abilities here. And that should help just kill them faster, especially the more tanky ones. I wouldn't generally bother with the finale of Ballad of the Witch unless you find you're only going to have at-wills left. Here again, use Ballad of the Witch, use Duet, we can use Contra, and then we can use Vaults Stabito. Just keep in mind that the second effect of Duet you can kind of cancel by basically comboing another encounter power. So like Vaults Stabito, you can do the initial cast of Duet, you don't have to fully finish it, and then you can go straight into Vaults Stabito. You'll see this here. We'll just use Ballad of the Witch. We use Duet, then we use Vaults Stabito, and we let it move us there because we can't like jump cast it. But yeah, let's dodge out of that. Use a Contra in the middle of them. You can use another Contra, and they're pretty low. Then we can use like the finale. No, it's not going to let us. And Duet, Vaults Stabito to get out of there. And yeah, it's very nice and fluid, having a bunch of mobility as well with those powers. But it can be a bit of a different experience from some other classes that may be more stuck in animations. Here, it can also be a bit annoying having that moving effect. Like with Vaults Stabito, yes, you can jump cancel it. That's something you'll want to learn rather than letting it move you. And you'll want to decide when do you want to let it to move you, when not. And then with Duet as well, it's also going to move you if you let it. So it can be just better to use the move then of Vaults Stabito instead. Also be aware of combat advantage damage. You want to be getting some positioning if you can with, let's say, your companion. So for example, this guy, we can move, we're flanking him and get all that extra damage against him. Here we'll use like Inspiration Daily Power, as these guys might hurt if I let them. But you know, they're fine. The Minotaur just CCs them and then they're pretty easy pickings. Like you can also combo it with Duet and then your at will, and yeah, it's all pretty fluid. Bard DPS not as good as, let's say, some other classes, like particularly Rogue and Warlock if enemies last long. It's just, you do have a very mobile playstyle. You are pretty decent, except this is really annoying when they split up like this. Keep in mind, you can use Contra with a single target effect like we'll do here, and just nuke him. There we go. If you do have ad waves spawning in, you can also like prepare Contra to get the third hit on that as well, which is then 900 magnitude over 3 hits, and you can be doing other attacks during it. But now we're going to jump to single target damage and what setup should you be using and then how. So here there's 2 setups you can use. One takes advantage of Performer and the other Loremaster. Each play pretty differently. First of all though, we're going to cover Performer. I found it's just a lot easier to output a lot more damage. Loremaster, however, has higher potential for burst damage and could be very good for bosses that phase a lot and you end up with a lot of downtime. And otherwise, depending on your skill level, you may be able to potentially get more damage than Performer, especially since Performer relies on a bit more luck versus Loremaster. you will generally know what you get and you have a lot more control over how much damage you're dealing. But it's again a lot trickier to play, a lot more timing required. So we jump to Performer, and this is a setup I would use. Main at-will is Staccato. You just use that whenever you have encounters on cooldown. Your Con Elemental at-will you will just use to trigger Elemental Melody. You can min-max a bit and switch between different songs, getting all 3 stacks of Elemental Melody, but I found it's generally not that big a deal and not really worth bothering with in terms of ease of play, and it just requires a ton of timing and optimizing and can be viable depending on the content. You'll want to go and mess around with that, but it's something you can master down the road as you play Bard a lot. As for encounter powers, you want Dancing Lights and Levitum, and then it's your choice between Lunge and Contre. I found Lunge to be a lot better with Performer, just with reliability, getting that damage out nice and quickly, and then being able to use more staccatos to trigger more ballads, to trigger more Performer, and get other encounters back again. Just Contre will take you a full second to cast Contre Septime to get the 1200 magnitude damage. With Ad Libitum, there is a bit of luck. Sometimes you can do 3200 magnitude, sometimes you'll only deal 800, as this can hit in a combo up to 4 times of 800 magnitude. For the daily powers, it's generally lore all the time against that single target. You can have inspiration for a bit of utility, for a bit of a heal, get out of control effect. It is better though if you need multiple targets to attack, where lore will only be against one target, but we're in boss fights and single targets, so that'll usually be the case. For the mechanics, again, your role to get out of red zones, get to a safe zone quick, and then perform to play your songs. You just have this here and you'll type your notes to cast whatever song. Now you'll want to master that, getting the notes in their corresponding orders. It can take a bit of practice and learning. However, you can take advantage of quick play slots, and I would recommend it for the Ballad of the Hero here. That allows you to cast it instantly without any delay. Even if you cast it as quick as possible manually, you're still going to have a bit of a delay before you can attack again. You can also use keybinds, which I'll discuss in a later section. As for class features, I recommend just Mystifying Strikes. Now you will be wanting to, as per in the AoE section, have one elemental song active all the time. I recommend Tailwind Mambo for single target, and then have Ballad of the Hero active as often as you can. Now the class features, Mystifying Strikes and Masterful Performance, are the two I found the most useful. For the feats, just go with this setup here. However, you could switch a do to the Ballad one when you're in a trial and want to support the entire team, dealing a little bit more damage. Now we jump to the rotation you want to use on Performer. So the first thing you'll probably be doing in the fight is an artifact call. So you'll start by casting your elemental song when you're out of the fight, and then you're going to go enter the combat, use your Con at will, and then go use Ballad of the Hero. Then you're going to use your artifact with everybody, your daily, then your encounters here, your mount power, some at wills, some other encounters if you get improvised, and then your finale before the end, and then you can cast Ballad again. And now you just continually attack a bit, use your encounters. As soon as you get performance to 100 again and can cast a song, you can use Ballad Finale, go and cast Ballad again. I use Ballad from Quickplay so you don't end up with any delays at all. Now as soon as you're approaching like 20 seconds, 15 seconds towards the next artifact call, you can check the timer on your mount. You want to be casting your elemental song again. So here our ballad's nearly over. We cast the finale. We're going to cast the elemental song, and then we're going to use our encounters again. Wait till we get enough performance, and then we're going to go and cast our ballad again. And now we are nearly at the artifact call. We just make sure we get our daily. Then we go artifacts. We go lore, we use our encounter powers, and then we use our mount power and the finale, and we can use Ballad of the Hero again. We can use the finale again if the artifact call is still up, and then it's just a bit of downtime, waiting on performance, using encounters off cooldown. So you can see there, you can sometimes get 2 ballads in an artifact call. It will depend on how many improvised procs you get. Don't prioritize lunge improvised ones, prioritize the other ones like Dancing Lights and Ad Libitum, as they have much higher magnitudes. And that's really it. Once you get towards the artifact call again, you can go and like fish for some improvised encounters, so you don't cast them, just use some at wills. We'll just use them now here because we're still about 10 seconds out. We can use our Ballad of the Hero again there. Artifact call's nearly up, so we'll just save our encounters, save those improvised, use our artifact daily, and use our encounters here, and using the improvised ones and our mount power. And that's pretty much it for the artifact call. Use our finale at the end there. And you can get a ton of damage that way on Performer. It goes really well. And you should be able to compete with other classes like that in those boss fights. But now we're going to jump to Loremaster, which has a higher skill ceiling, potentially higher burst damage, depending on your RNG, versus Performer. Performer could get a bunch of improvised procs for the artifact call. Otherwise, Loremaster is more reliable in burst. You're always having those encounters. You're doubling the damage on them nearly with 100% extra damage. And let's jump to the setup. So you're using everything nearly the same except the Loremaster feat. Now you will want to use Contre instead of lunge for the extra burst damage, the 1200 magnitude. So now you have Loremaster. What that does is gives you the opportunity to, yes, get 100% damage on encounter powers and ballad finales for 10 seconds. Now, the way this works is your lore will change to research when you don't have your daily power full. You can cast this research and you'll get battle research stacks. Once you hit 5 of those battle research stacks, you'll be able to activate exploit, which will give you ready to exploit, which gives you that 10-second window of 100% extra damage to those encounters and ballad finales. You'll take advantage of that probably once, maybe if you get your timing correct, twice outside of an artifact call. Generally, I could only manage really once for that timing, and then you need to make sure you have these stacks again for the artifact call. It's very important you have 5 stacks for the artifact call because you need that extra damage on those encounters. So here, before we go into an artifact call, before we go into the boss fight, make sure you have 5 stacks, then fill your daily power. Make sure you have that as well. Then you will want to be making sure you have your elemental song active, and then you go and enter your fight. You can use your elemental at will, then use Ballad of the Hero, and then you're going to use your daily power, your lore, you're going to use your ad libitums, and then charge up your con till it's sep time, use dancing lights, mount power, ballad finale, and then if you have ballad again, you can use finale again, but we didn't have it there quick enough to be able to cast it within the burst window, so that was a bit of a waste. We can use our encounters when they're off cooldown again, and now we can use battle research, try and get 5 stacks, just wait on your cooldowns as well. So we get 5 stacks here, we use Ballad of the Hero, we activate 5 stacks, the research, use like our Contre there, we probably should have used our ad libitum beforehand, not a big deal, and then use Ballad finale. We can use Ballad again, I believe we have enough time. Actually, we were just too late on that. And we can use our encounters here again, just as they're off cooldown. Once we get enough performance here, we need to be casting the elemental song. So we use that as we're approaching the next artifact call. We need to get our daily powers as well. We're going to first use battle research to get 5. We're going to save our encounter powers here. Then we get our daily power. Then we go with the artifact call. Well, ballad, artifact call, Loremaster. We ad libitum, dancing lights, Contre, charge that up, mount power, ballad finale. We don't have enough to, say, cast ballad again, but that was it for the artifact call. And you get a ton of burst damage like that. You can optimize your timing a bit better to make sure you always get 2 ballad finales within an artifact call. That's, again, these are nearly doubled in damage, so they're going to be up there of 1,500 effective magnitude up to 1,600. It's not a true doubling because you have other damage buffs and that will saturate like that when you do the math on it. But you can get some massive burst damage. Again, getting like double the damage on all these encounter powers nearly. And that well makes up for not having, say, a massive hitting daily power. You have ballads, so you can use that twice. That's already more than some classes on daily powers. So that is pretty much Loremaster, and hopefully those rotations show you kind of how to play it. You will want to optimize timing there. We spent maybe a little bit less time attacking than we should have, and we should have got our daily power a little bit quicker. But yeah, it can be a bit of a push because using those research effects here will not give you action points. So you're sacrificing precious time casting those, but it can be very well worth it. One time outside of artifact call to activate this here, just the key, you get the buff, gives you 100% damage boost to those encounters and battle finales, and then one time during the artifact call. But you need to cast these usually. You do have a chance while attacking to get one of these stacks, but you need to keep an eye out on them always and have 5 before you have the artifact call casting your Loremaster or before casting exploit. So timing is of the essence with Loremaster, and it's something, yeah, that has high potential damage, but it takes a lot of timing and perfection to master that, and it will depend on the content. Again, I have a feeling this will do very well in content that is burst orientated, where the boss is there for a bit, then he's not, allowing you to get that big burst damage. Like in Tower of the Mad Mage, this is probably going to do really well. But in like long fights, say Demogorgon, where it's just continually attacking, I find performers probably going to outperform it, especially for newer players who don't have the perfection on timing, aren't well practiced with it. You're going to find performer doing a lot more damage just reliably. You aren't that limited on the timing of things. Just keep your elemental song active and have your ballad up and you're good. So last thing to mention is the songs and how you can play them with keybinds and otherwise quick plays. Now, just to be clear, you don't generally want to cast a song in quick play, because when you do, you miss out on all of the buffs like truly inspired critical tuning if you need that, and then master performance as well. Then if you're running ballad feat here, you also want to be casting it not from quick play. But I found quick play just to be a lot easier. You can cast then ballad twice during an artifact call because you can do it with that timing. There's no delay whatsoever. It's just, yeah, you only have one quick play slot, so you kind of have to cast your elemental song outside of quick play. So you will want to get used to the notes here. You only have to learn Tailwind pretty much, and it's pretty simple there. You should be able to manage it if you play Bard for any amount of time. Just get the muscle memory for it. Otherwise, you can, like me, use keybinds right now because I haven't bothered, but this is a PC exclusive thing. It allows you to play the songs as if they were in another quick play slot and you're just using them instantly like that. So these are the keybinds, and you should find them in the video description. There's bunch of them there for Minstrel as well, and ultimately you'll just go copy this and then paste it in chat here. Now you can go and change what key that's on. So instead of having F3, I use H on mine. Just be aware that's going to replace some other keybind you may have had there, like Steel March I have on J, and you might use that for your journal. So you might want to change it to a function key, but I have a small keyboard which I need to press like FN and then a function key, so that's not convenient for me. You can change that particular keybind to anything you want. If you bind it to a key that you don't want it to be there, you can just rebind the key in the options here. They're all there. You can change whatever function you want to whatever key you want, and you can even use all the special keys there. Again, all of the coding for that comes from here. You can see exactly PowerMusicNoteExec 7 is the C note, and that's where all of this comes from. These are all known by the devs. I've put together these keybinds even before the Bard was released on the live server. The devs didn't really say anything about it, but there's those sweaty Bard players who don't want people using this, so they go and they nag the devs all the time, asking them to remove it and question the devs whether it's intended, and the devs' response was, pretty much, yeah, it's intended. As long as some keybind isn't going to give you over 20% more damage versus not, then they don't really care, and they seem fine with this in the game, and they've coded it to work in the game like this, so they can easily remove it when they wish to. They literally put the keybinds here, allowed you to change the notes, and put the syntax there, and put it so that you can use the chat to play songs exactly by using the coding there. You can read it for yourself, each of those. And so that's what you do. You can just use the command to activate all those notes instantly. Just keep in mind with those keybinds, I get asked a lot, are they working? They're not working for me anymore. You do have to enter the performance mode before you can play the song. That's pretty obvious, no? You enter the performance mode, then you hit the key of the song, and then it plays it. Just like a quick play. You enter perform mode, you press the quick play slot, and it plays the song. It's identical. It's just with the keybind, it considers it as a manually played song, which also means you get the negative of having the delay. Like, you can't attack right after. You get the please wait longer after playing a song, and you'll get that even when you play it manually with your fingers, unless you're slow. It's really annoying, and that's why I play Ballad with quick play, because you can immediately start attacking afterwards. You have a near instant cast time on that without any please wait. But that is ultimately everything for my Bard Songblade how to play. Multi-target, single target with Performer and Loremaster. I may very well come out with a detailed comparison showing you like DPS tests in single target, and I will be covering them with other classes, and you can compare them as well. That way you can see the timing perfection on that, and yeah, can judge how I'm playing it as well. Once again, a massive thank you to all of these channel members for their added support, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.